Welcome again to class. It's been quite a while. Now, thanks again for joining. Thanks for coming to class. Now we continue with poultry science. And what we have today is swollen head syndrome. Swollen head syndrome. Now, previously we've done avian encephalotrichitis, and then we've done some other ailments. As we progress, we consider other ailments that affect your poultry chicken. Knowledge is power. When you know these things, you know what to do, you can prevent the problems. And when you prevent the problem, you save money. Knowledge saves you money, saves you time, and saves you stress. So do well to continue the channel. Please like, follow, subscribe, and you'll be the better for it. Also share if you're gaining value. Thanks. Now let's delve in to what we have today. Now what we have today is swollen head syndrome, also called rhinotracheitis. Now, one of the things I've always done in teaching science is this. You would almost always get the meaning of an entire word, compound word in science, by knowing the constituting prefixes or suffixes or syllables. Now this is rhino. Rhino has to do with nose or nasal. Now you see tracheitis. Now let's see trachea first and then tis. Trachea has to do with the respiratory tract, the upper respiratory tract, the trachea and the others, the upper respiratory tract. And also tis in inflammation or swelling, in swelling or something distended. Now these are all scientific terms, the scientific jargons. Now you see nasal and respiratory tract inflammation. Now one of the best way of getting it, if you want to know it in your exam or any kind of test, is to do the meaning from backward, like the inflammation of the nose and the trachea. It will give you an understanding. But then it goes a little beyond it, because once water is collected, fluid is collected, it not only affects the nose, because the nose is in the head, so the head is swollen in the chicken. Now let's go on continuous. Let's continue. Now what we have is a viral disease. Viral diseases are a tough nut to crack more often than not. So you have to be careful. So prevention more often than not is better than cure for viral diseases. So we'll get into that prevention in this next class because of time. But let's go over this first. Now we'll see the prevention. It's a viral disease. The viral disease is a viral disease. Now what virus causes it? Is avian pneumovirus. You see this term pneumo, it has to do with breathing, or the system, or the structure, or the organs that have to do with the breathing system. So the avian pneumovirus. So the name, the family that this virus belongs to is the Paramyxoviridae. In science, once you see it ending with die or I, it is actually referring to the family subdivision. You know, you have the kingdom, phylum, order, family. So once you see it ending with die, for students, know it's referring to the family. So Paramyxoviridae. So what we have is the avian pneumovirus. Avian has to do with telling you that it's from apes. Apes, I didn't say apes. Apes are different. Apes, you talk about monkey and the other mammals that are there. But when you see apes, is referring to birds, chicken, pheasant, turkey, and the others. So they are all birds. So apes, avian pneumovirus. Pneumo has to do with the breathing and the virus. So that's the name of the virus that causes swollen head syndrome, which is also called rhinotracheitis, inflammation of the trachea and the nose. Now, what are the birds that are usually affected? Turkey, guinea fowl, chicken, pheasants. Now, others may be affected but not as common as we have it with this. As we go on, we'll keep on seeing how it affects different apes. Different apes. Now, I told you all these are called apes. They are birds. Apes. Now, the next is how they appear. It's usually airborne. That's the contact medium, the transfer medium. It's usually airborne, means it's usually in the air. Now, the incubation period is usually 4 to 8 days. Now, what the incubation period means like this: the time between when a bird catches the droplet from the air and the time where the egg hatches and begin to bring out the virus, and the virus begin to spread also within the system of either the chicken or guinea fowl or turkey or pheasant or any of the birds. It's usually between 4 to 8 days. So from 4 to 8 days, we begin to see that this thing that happened a bit 4 days earlier or 5 days earlier or 6 days earlier or 8 days earlier, you begin to see manifestation. Now, what are some of those manifestations? The signs that you see, the symptoms that you see, and then you begin to say, okay, can this be this? Now, some respiratory ailments look alike, but as you keep on looking at, by the time you consider 3, 4, 5, 6 signs and symptoms, you'll be able to tell, okay, this is particularly this and not this, right? Good. This is a respiratory tract problem, right? But the manifestation happens in the head. You see the physical signs. Now let's come back here. The signs, generally, you see a swollen eye and swollen head. The eye is born on the head. So once the eyes are swollen by the collection of fluid materials. Now you have congested nasal cavity. The word cavity is, in a simple term, means opening or tube-like in which something passes. The eye has a nasal cavity, the eye socket, the nose has nasal cavity, the mouth itself is buccal cavity. The nose, the eyes is in the cavity. So the nasal cavity, the nose cavity, is actually what? Congested. And what congested is what you have the mucor, like in the local parlance we call catarrh, blocks the nasal cavity for the birds. Then another thing you will see is loss of appetite. And following loss of appetite, whether in human, virtually in 90% of the cases, is loss of weight, especially the loss of appetite continues. In most cases, once the bird is not eating, you will know. In fact, the first sign to know in most cases when birds are sick is that they don't eat. The same thing with humans. If they are sick, in many cases, not all, humans will not eat. Although because humans are smarter, we know how to. You have to know, please get something to eat so that you don't fall sick. But animals may know. Once you put a certain quantity of feed for your birds, you go out to come back, they finished it. Another day you go out to come back, they finished it. And suddenly one day you discover that the same quantity you put, but they've not finished it. You know that these birds are likely to be sick, and then you watch out. Sometimes you proactively treat them immediately. So once you see loss of appetite, you begin to know that the birds are sick in almost all the cases. Almost. Following as a consequence of loss of appetite in most cases is loss of weight. So the animal will lose weight. Now, what are other signs that we see? We see discharges from the eyes. Now, like you have here, the eyes begin to discharge some messy things. You see inflammation of the sinuses. I've already talked about the word inflammation. Inflammation means when something is distended. I think distended is another big word. When something is swollen. Now the sinuses are air spaces in the head that are associated with the nose. Air spaces in the head. This place I'm referring to humans now. You also have the same thing in the other animals too. there are air spaces in the skull. Let me not say here, the skull of the face. The air spaces in the skull, from the nose, sometimes get towards the eyes. Now, it is those air spaces that the mucor and all these dead cells that are collected and this pus collected in all those places. Then pus from there. So the sinuses are open air cavities that you have in the skull. Inflamed conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is a thin lining, sheet like something that covers the eyes. If it gets inflamed, you see reddening. It becomes reddening, it gets hot, and it gets swollen. Now, in our local parlance, it's called Apollo. When someone has Apollo, you see where the key someone has Apollo, but that's wrong. That's what is called Apollo is actually conjunctivitis. That brings us to this. Anything ending with T means an inflammation. So conjunctivitis. So you see the inflamed conjunctiva. You can say maybe Apollo. Also, they catch birds, something like that, if you like to put it that way. So conjunctivitis. Then repressive watery eyes. Repressive means it is not allowing something to express itself. It is blocking it, it is hindering it, it is stopping it. So repressive eyes. So this collection of mucus, collection of watery fluid, kind of oedema, is blocking the eye. So you see every place in the eye is swollen, the head is swollen, it's not blocking the eyes. That's what happens when people have swollen eyes. Unfortunately, maybe an accident or something, someone had hit the eyes, they kind of block the eyes, you can't see well, right? It's the same thing. In this case now, the virus had caused some mucor and dead cell collecting pus filled with, you see the eyes. You can check the pictures and then you see the way it looks like. It blocks the eyes. The eyes are not see. You can't see. So, and this is common with broiler chicken. You can have it also with other common broiler chicken. Now, another category of chicken. Now, one of the things I've majored on here is chicken is more commonly read, especially in this part of the world. Now, that's not neglecting other parts, but chicken is mostly read. You have the broiler chicken, you have the layer chicken. Amongst them, you have the breeders. The breeders are the category that are actually bred or kept or reared, genetically engineered to lay eggs that are fertile. Yes, they are crossed with the male. They allow mating with the males, and then eggs that are fertile for what? Incubation and then hatching to produce the next generation. So they keep on producing. They are the ones producing the next generation. Now, those breeder chicken, those breeder birds, usually if they get infected with this, there's up to 20% mortality. The word mortality means death. Right, they're dying. So if you have up to 200, 2,000 birds, right, you should be having close to 400 dying. About 400 dying. So if you'd have up to 10,000, you should be having about 2,000 dying. Up to, it can be less, it can be a bit higher. The next is that is under what happens to breeders, to breeder chicken now. We're talking about breeders. Now, for breeder chicken, up to 30% egg production will drop. Egg production will drop up to 30%. So, they were actually engineered to produce eggs, fertile eggs, because they've been crossed, they've been mated with the males. Now, the egg will drop. Of course, more often than not, you see that associated with food. They lose appetite, you won't want to. So, the next is also reduced hatchability. The egg also, that is, if the few eggs, the remaining 70% or thereabout, will not have the full capacity to hatch well. So they will not hatch properly. So reduced hatchability is also a thing that affects. And then there's the low quality of chicks. Now you see how this thing continues down the run, continues down the ring, the scale. Reduced egg drop, egg production, as if it's not enough. Even the few eggs that are produced are of low quality in terms of hatchability, reduced quality. And even the few that even get to hatch, the chicks that come out from them are of low quality too. They are somewhat sick because the virus itself has found its way into the eggs, from the eggs into the chicks, and the chicks are not likely to survive. Now this is a big problem. But there's a way to prevent them. And also if you have them, you treat. Now remember what I said earlier, when it comes to viral ailments, it's better prevented than seeking treatment. Because of time, I would like us to do this, to continue this, right? So the next video, watch out for it. We'll continue with swollen head syndrome. We'll now look at the prevention and then the treatment. I may even give you one or two of other signs you may see. But meanwhile, let's call it a day. Thank you, I love you. Please, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. If you've not followed, please follow. And then share, give a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Put your comments if you have any, or you ask a question. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I appreciate you. Bye. Next time.